invite. One of the things which we have, obviously, Freshworks have been there. Just a moment. In the news of late, and I think there is a lot of activity around. So a great learning. I am sure that here we all will really benefit from the path followed by from the startup mode to where it is today with the IPO and things like that. And I think that's a real important journey to understand. And I think more important for us to understand is the consequences and approach that we need to take. Many of us are in startup phase, and then we want to mature ourselves to the next level, not continue a startup, because that is the most important part of the game. Like Steve Blank says, startup is about evolving the business model that you have, and once business model is set, it is important to go to the next level and mature yourself. So great learning journey. We are it's a pleasure to have with us here Rajiv. Rajiv Ramanan is in charge of the non-linear growth channels at Freshworks, such as startups, GSIs, and technology partnerships around the world. Rajiv is a seasoned executive with international experience in areas of product management, consulting, business development, sales, and strategy. He built out the technology partnership ecosystem from scratch at Freshworks and scaled it over 1,000 plus apps in less than 2.5 years. We welcome you, Rajiv, and thanks a lot for accepting our invite. And I think the most important keywords I would really take away is the kind of scaling it up to 1,000 plus apps. And obviously, when I am working on architecture side of things, I realize how difficult it is. And from few number of users to a lot of users itself. So that kind of set the stage for you. Thanks a lot, Rajiv. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Abhilash, and thank you, Nikhil, for the kind introduction, and thanks, TiE Kerala, for the opportunity. So let me just kickstart by introducing myself. My name is Rajiv, and I've been with Freshworks for about 6 years. For those of you who don't know about Freshworks, Freshworks is a global SaaS company that was born in India, but we are now present globally and in about 13 plus countries and selling in 120 plus countries. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see my screen now? Full screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So just to give a quick view, Freshworks, we got listed in NASDAQ last year. We are one of the fastest product companies from India to get listed in NASDAQ as FRSH. And we went out, we got a lot of media attention for it. And more than that, it was just the beginning for us as a new public company. And the company has undergone tremendous growth journey. Just to give you a hint of it, we were founded in the year 2010. We did close to $300 million in revenue. And we have over 50,000 plus paying customers across different segments, SMBs, mid-market, and enterprise customers, over 4,000 plus employees, and we are rated number 16 in the Forbes Top Cloud 20, right, which is a big achievement for a company that is born in India and has been going global from day one. So, as I said, we have customers across segments, but I just wanted to give you a quick view of some of our customers globally. So we have right from Walt Disney to Decathlon to Viva to multiple other customers globally, and we serve with them on multiple product lines. Our product lines are primarily in the customer engagement and employee engagement space. So we play a lot in the customer support, CRM, and ITSM spaces. So today, the topic of my discussion, again, I'm going to keep the session short. It's a Friday evening. I'm not going to go too much in detail into everything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a view of how to think about go-to-market and what kind of go-to-market you should choose depending on the types of customers that you're going after. How do you define an ICP? And from then on, go into the details of how do you structure your teams and what you need to invest in to ensure you're able to get the benefits out of your go-to-market strategy. Right. So I'm going to keep the session for about 15-20 minutes only, but post that I'm open for questions. I want it to be a discussion. I hope that's fine with everybody. right? So when we talk about go-to-market, what is a go-to-market strategy, right? So this itself, there is a lot of confusion around it. People say sales is go-to-market. Some people say marketing is go-to-market. Some people say no, partnerships is go-to-market. In my opinion, go-to-market is a big, wide area where you are taking your value proposition to your end customers. So it combines what, which is your offerings, which is your who, to which customer you're taking it. It also combines how, which involves marketing strategy and sales strategy. In fact, there is also a lot of elements of product strategy that comes into defining your go-to-market, right? So the value proposition triangle is a great way to visualize your go-to-market strategy, right? You just start filling in, hey, what is my product offering? Who am I selling to? How am I going to reach to them? Okay. It sounds extremely simple, but when you start writing it down and going deeper into each of these, you'll realize that it is not that easy. You just need to ensure that you have to go into each of those funnels very, very deeply to determine your strategy, and based on the strategy, determine your team structures and the investments that you need to do in each of these, right? So let us start with a goal, right? So what kind of a company are you? Okay, there are hundreds of ways in which you can build $100 million business. Okay, but typically people choose one segment, because if you start selling to everybody, you're going to sell to nobody, right? You need to know which segment, which base you're going to hit to ensure you're hitting $100 million company. So the way I generally think about it is, if I have to think about a company, okay, I usually prefer, so if you, the way to decipher this graph is, you can, if you are a pure enterprise product, which means you're going to be this whale, you're going to be selling to, if your contract value is say 10 million, you just need 10 customers to hit $100 million revenue. Okay. Your sales cycles may take 2 to 3 years for you to hit a deal, but one deal will give you enough runway for 3 to 5 years for you to run, right? So that is one way of thinking about it. And the lowest is like probably the best example that I can take from real life and tell you is, Freshworks, we play in this area where our ACV, so our average revenue per customer might be in 1,000 to 10,000 range, and we have close to 10,000 customers to hit $100 million in revenue, right? So if you have to choose such a segment, you also need to know what is your product strategy. Because if you are selling to an SMB, which means that you need, if you're selling a $1 product, you cannot afford to have a team that is going to onboard your customers on a daily basis to go and sell, right? So this determines your product strategy. So that those products, if you're selling a $1 product, you need to be product led. You cannot be sales led or marketing led. You need to be product led. The whole journey of customer coming, finding you and buying you should be completely automated. You should just have support and support teams to support them where needed. But on the enterprise size, you cannot have a product led motion at all. You cannot put a pricing page that tells you this is my pricing and stuff like that. You need to have field sales that is going to be going, talking to hundreds of times, multiple stakeholders within an organization for you to even get your first sale. So this gives you a matrix of how you determine your sales motion, your marketing motion, and your distribution motion. So what are the core components of a GTM strategy? As I said, I put it into 4 buckets, right? So marketing is defining your marketing segments. Segmentation, positioning, and targeting are core elements of this. Once you identify your segment, once you identify your positioning, you need to go into your campaigns. What is the kind of campaigns, how you measure your KPIs for each of your campaigns. Until that level, you need to go down, right? Second is sales. As I said, depending on SMB, mid-market, enterprise, you need to choose how you are going to generate your demand. If you are a small company, if you are selling to SMBs, and if you are going to sell in volumes, then your marketing strategy should lead your sales strategy. Your demand should be generated by marketing. Enough demand should come into the system. It flows into your sales funnel. Your sales funnel should be able to build it and convert it into revenue. And product should definitely enable you to cover a lot of these gaps that are in your go-to-market in product itself. Like, for example, billing and automations and all those things should be there, so that you don't need to scale your resources in alignment with the scale of your customers, right? So that is extremely critical. And fourth is customer success. Depending on the segments, you need to think how you are going to do customer success. See, it's so easy to get a lot of customers today, but the most important part and the most significant part in go-to-market is retaining your customers. You spend, say, $100 or $1,000 to acquire a customer. Your CAC depends on the segment that you're going after. But if you have to keep getting those customers again and again, that's not the way to significantly build a business or a sustainably to build a business. You need to figure out ways in which you retain your customers. If you are an enterprise base, you need to have customer success managers for each of those accounts who carry retention targets as well as growth targets within those accounts. Similarly, if you're an SMB, you need to trigger marketing. Customer marketing should lead the way to ensure that they are able to touch each of those customers, giving them consistent product updates, making sure that they are trying new features, then you upgrade them or you maintain them, right? The core is customer success is very much part of your go-to-market strategy, and their goal is to ensure you're not building a leaky bucket. Now, let's go one level deeper, right? So we start with marketing. Today, you need to have a marketing organization that is structured in a way that you are able to acquire customers, you are able to build a brand, you are able to drive customer adoption, and you also need to ensure that your operations are streamlined, right? So all these things are critical parts of a modern organization today. And if you see content marketing, the goal of content marketing, when you start your product, if you think content marketing and blogs and stuff like that to give you leads, that won't happen. Your content marketing should be the way you communicate with your customers. You build your brand around it. You need to focus on what channels of marketing that you're going to use for your content to ensure you're able to drive growth with content, right? But don't use content primarily to drive demand, because that will take time depending on the base that you're going after. Product marketing is aligned to product management, and the goal for product marketing is to ensure in product they are able to give you nudges, and in product they are able to communicate with you for you to adopt more product and also to upsell or cross sell other products. Demand gen and field marketing, which is more relevant for mid-market and enterprise customers, is to end their sole purpose is to drive demand for you. The team should carry lead targets, and they should carry a budget that they can go and spend, and they will work extremely closely with sales teams, because the sales team's numbers will depend on the leads that these guys generate. Okay, so without these three engines, today a marketing engine for a very, very high growing company or a large company cannot function. Next, talking about segmentation, I think this is more practical on how you should think about your segmentation. So your product, if you have to sell to a certain segment, you need to know what their needs are. So if your product, you are able to clearly call out, these are the needs of my users and I'm building a product for that, you can go with needs-based segmentation. Second, or if for your go-to-market motion, if you think SMB, mid-market and enterprise level segmentation is good enough, you need to think through that as well. That will come under firmographic segments. Value-based segmentation is who within an organization will be relevant for me, and what types of company will have such need around the world. That determines your value-based segmentation. Usage is who will use us. Are there enough users for my product? And how can I ensure that my users will adopt me, and how do I find them? If you are able to segment your users based on usage, then you need to come up with different messages for each of those users and then drive the strategy for it. So segmentation is pretty much global, and I think this also needs a revamp in my opinion. But yeah, today's framework, this helps you to determine your initial go-to-market and get you on the field faster. So positioning, I'm not going to go too deep into positioning, but my takeaway from positioning is you need to know who your user is, who your buyer is, and depending on the level of the buyer, the influencer and the champion in your organization, you need to come up with different messages. So if you see the value triangle on the right, I think this very efficiently tells you how your messaging should be. So if I am a company and I'm positioning my product to a CXO, I will talk about revenues, costs, risks, and speed. I will not be talking about operational efficiencies. I will not be talking about quality that he's going to get, etc. That will not get you a deal. Man, if you're targeting managers and if you're talking to managers, then they will talk about efficiencies. They will talk about how you can make their life easier, how you can get them better, faster, cheaper, right? That will help them. Third, if you're talking about individual users, you need to talk about ease of use. How can I try this product better? You can talk about innovation. You need to make them a hero, right? If they are trying a product, if you talk about products like Slack and others who went viral because of individuals in organizations, whoever goes bottom up selling will take this approach. Their experience will be superior to others, anyone else in the market. The product can be tried immediately and it helps them save a lot of time and it will make them feel like an innovator in an organization, right? So these are all key things that you need to have. And for you to understand this positioning, based on your positioning messaging, there is a whole positioning framework that is available that will help you determine what your market positioning should be. You need to know who your competitors are. You need to know what your product is. You need to know which markets you want to go after. Do not go after everybody. Your product, even though if you take about project management is generic. Every company will need it. But if you look at Asana, if you look at Monday.com, if you look at Rocketland, these guys don't market to everybody. They market to specific users, specific regions, and specific segments. Be as specific as possible so that you can try out multiple things. Okay. Then selecting your target, right? So again, this is a very easy to understand matrix that you can use. If your product is very SMB-ish, okay, your sales strategy has to be inbound driven. It has to be low touch. It has to be self-service. It has to be try and buy. Okay. If you're selling to mid-market and medium-sized businesses, and if your product is a little complex, then it is very tricky. You have to drive leads through inbound as well as do outbound. And you need to, until you find the best way or most effective way for you to do it, you need to try multiple experiments. That is the uneasy middle here. If you are selling to enterprises, then I think it's a no-brainer. You just need to invest in resources who are fleet on street, on the ground, who will be talking to customers. And you need to focus on small number of deals, but very high value deals. Otherwise, that engine also won't work. So I've covered about multiple things. Here, it is about how your sales organization should be structured. And with your sales organization, the most important part is how you're going to prioritize your leads, how you're going to touch your leads, how quickly are you able to talk to your customers faster, and which teams are talking to your customers and how the handoffs work, right? So if you are a product-led company, your sales should be engaging only when the customer is actively trying your product and adopting a few features. If you are a sales-led company, you need to ensure your discovery is done right. Your SDR and your sales development guys and your business development guys are on the field, talking to multiple customers, qualifying the right leads. Then it comes to an account executive, and account executive should be very quick in understanding their vetting whether the lead is actually qualified, giving them the right solutions, have objection handlings, call scripts, and everything that is required for him to do his job better, and quickly move it to closure, right? So this term ABC is absolutely important for account executives, which is always be closing. Once an opportunity is with you, you cannot sit on it, right? If you have hundreds of opportunities, you need to ensure your capacity is enough to handle all of them simultaneously. You cannot wait saying the first 20 opportunities came in the first week of the month. I will touch them first and then move on to the rest. Actually, it works opposite in sales. The deal that is coming in as hot, whatever time it comes in, you need to be able to quickly prioritize and touch them and close. Otherwise, it is very difficult for you to close these leads, right? So you need to ensure you have enough capacity, and your inside sales and your outbound engine are very, very clearly aligned towards their goals, and they do what they are attempting to do. The main thing about adoption, right? So again, as I said, customer success is also a very critical point. But for any sales to be successful, you need to ensure customers adopt your product or see value from your product. You need to be very clear of what is the unit value that your product is delivering. So you should always be seen as a very, very significant painkiller rather than a vitamin. If you are a painkiller, people will adopt you blindly. If you are a vitamin, you become a choice, right? Your sales cycles are going to be delayed. You're not going to be the first preference. If you're a painkiller, people will immediately go, right? That will solve a lot of problems for them. The other thing that is emerging now is selling through ecosystems and building through ecosystems. So far I've covered go-to-market elements that are out there, which are for regular industries or any kind of businesses, right? But the next level of companies that are coming through today are not building everything from scratch. This is from a product perspective, right? What you need to do is you need to think about what is the fastest way for you to be in front of your customers. So it's very critical for you to understand what is the shortest way, which might even sometimes mean not building everything that you need. You can even assemble a solution, right? So for example, tag.ai is now, I think it's going to be a very, very huge company. And Tag.ai was built on top of Salesforce. They didn't need to worry about the infra. They didn't need to worry about the building everything from scratch. They just picked up an approach. They immediately built a layer on top of it. They focused on the business problem rather than the technology problem, and they solved it really well. Okay, same goes with others as well. So in this way, you can build a product that is very fast, and you build your go-to-market engine to go and try it out with a few customers, validate your problem. You can validate your product market fit much faster before you go and sell into your or invest in your customer base or in your teams, right? So that's how we think about it for fast tracking product development and also go to market. So with that, I want to stop the theoretical parts. We'll be more than happy to take questions and make it into a discussion.
Yeah, it's great shot, but then I think you gave insights into a lot of different areas in the quick go around kind of. So yeah, I think really you touched upon the segmentation aspects, and I think you also touched upon targeting the right for and how to communicate with each level of the executive. That is something probably very important when we are going into it. And I think then, I mean, like then the target market and the attention that we want and the ability to close was kind of, and being the painkiller was kind of it kind of is the key aspect which we have to look at. And another thing about ecosystem. So I think that is where I am just having this one question right now, because when you are talking about these SaaS-based startups and I mean all that kind of things. So if I relate to what you are trying to say, getting a customer probably in the US is much more easier than onboarding a customer in India. This is something that we hear from a lot of guys. Is that something true, or is it Indian customer is more demanding?
Indian customers are very demanding, and we all know it, right? Because we bargain with pretty much everybody, and until we see value, we don't pay, right? So honestly, that is it's a sad truth, but we have to accept that Indian customers are very demanding. And that's why most of the SaaS companies, when they start selling in the US, because market is also very big and customers also pay faster.
Okay, great, thanks. I think that is important, because I think somebody is trying to only sell in India and then they struggle. Maybe, but then there is a chance to pivot and try to take it to the next step. So that's important. Nikhil, you wanted to ask something? Yeah, please go ahead.
No, sir.
Yeah, we have any questions in the chat right now from our participants? Not seeing open questions otherwise. So Nikhil and Anublal is also there. Please join the discussion. I think we would need your views, and I mean in the participants here, because that is one thing which we are realizing, the kind of so one point you made, Rajiv, is very important to understand for us to. I think you may not need to build an entire platform, rather you can just build it right in the gaps that exist in some area of business. Can you a little bit elaborate on that area where you can say, okay, well, I mean, because I think that is a very important aspect. We may not need to build, but then if you have a competency, use another platform to build on top of it. Like even it can be done, even I understand, on top of Freshworks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is you first need to understand what problems you're solving. Right? Once you define the problem, don't go and build everything from scratch immediately. Today, there are hundreds of ways. So even people use Airtable as a backend. and use forms and build a few landing pages with the no-code platforms to test out their ideas, right? So the infra, the scale part of it and stuff like that is already taken care of. So we don't need to worry too much about it. Okay. So given that the world is going towards no code and stuff like that, what as entrepreneurs we need to do is we need to first nail down the business problem or a hypothesis, then build out an MVP with very minimal investments that we need. Go and test it out with a few customers whom we think are a target customer. That's where all these frameworks become important. Then go pilot it if there is adoption, and the most important part is willingness to pay. A customer should be willing to pay for your product. If there are more customers willing to pay for your product, that is when you actually invest in building everything. Even now, I'll say a lot of white labeling options are available. You can very quickly build products. Building a product is no way a competitive advantage anymore. Solving for the right problems is, and that's where most of your investment should go.
Great. Solving for the right problems. Yeah. So just curious to relate to what you were saying. So if I understand it, Freshworks, somehow some of the founders are related to the Soho backgrounds, right? Some of them, I don't know whether it's a lot of people, but then so there is a CRM kind of similarity that is floating around, customer relationship management. So, but then inside CRM itself, what I understand from you is there are different market segments and different areas where people are really looking forward to growth. And then because CRM, when we say customer relationship management across different sectors, across different areas, it's a very big space maybe. But then we are probably, I mean, at least when we are kind of seeing it, it's not, it's more like, okay, it's customer relationship management. But then what is so, I mean, when you said CRM space, what is that kind of significance of that space, and how do you think that that kind of we can get some more insight into that space and say, okay, this is a gap which is probably not addressed. So that kind of thinking.
I'll give you an example. There is also another question from Rupa on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a CRM in India called Sell.do. Okay.
Okay.
And what they do is their CRM is only for real estate. They position it very, very clearly. And they do everything a real estate company needs. Okay, right from generating leads to talking to those leads. And in fact, you can even buy a house through their CRM. You can send payment links and collect payments for that. So they've done everything that is needed for them to position themselves as a leader in the real estate sector. So you identify one gap that says that, hey, I'm a CRM, but a lot of customization needs to be done for real estate for it to be effective. So those guys, they build for real estate, which means they pre-configure it for real estate, and only some edge cases they might need to build. So that is a very clear strategy that you can take, because the market is so big, you'll be able to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think Rupa has asked some question. Any tips, examples for positioning a SaaS product?
That's what I gave right now.
Also.
The second question is on the approach to US. So see, our market is a very wide market, right? So we are CRM or ITSM, which is very wide. So our approach is we spent a lot on Google and acquired our customers. So you have to understand that to do Google search based selling, your search volume should be high. You need to understand your category very well. So customer help desk was a category where people are already searching a lot. So once you know that there is search coming through, then you invest in search based marketing. Then you start getting demand for that, and especially coming into India. So we started only with inside sales for US. Post we had a good amount of success. We set up a field office in US to sell to mid-market, and only then we set up reselling and channels. Because if your sales team is able to sell repeatedly, only then you should have channels. Otherwise, you should not have channels.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, everyone, I had a hard stop at 5:30. but
Oh, okay.
I'm ready to, yeah, I had informed Nikhil and team by that. But what I can do is I'm more than happy to take more questions and answer them through my email or through WhatsApp. So I'll just put my number in the group. More than happy to communicate with all of you. And I
Yeah.
also think that it's Friday evening, so I don't want to take a lot of your time as well. And MVP testing, Thomas, was very simple, right? So what we did was we built out a base product, very, very base product, and started sending some emails to prospective customers. Customers came out, they signed up for the product, and initially we made it really easy for them to sign and try. It's a beta program. So people tried it and tested it, gave feedback, and based on which we built the product. Today, a lot of companies also launch their products in Product Hunt, where there are so many people hunting your products already. So you can get beta users and trial users from those platforms as well.
Great. So I think thanks a lot, Rajiv, for your great session. In a short while, you have taken us through a lot of things. So I think it's time to reflect and understand what we are trying to go forward. And yeah, I think there might be questions which might be coming on email. Thanks a lot for your time,
Yeah.
and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Abhiraj sir, and thanks everyone from TiE Kerala for this opportunity. Always happy to help out.